Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. We are going to, Be'ezrat Hashem, finish the first perek of Masechet Berachot tonight with our final Mishnah. We already began the Mishnah. We'll do a quick recap, and then we'll continue. And we're going to speak about something, a theme of something being important, but then later on something becoming more important that almost casts a shadow over the first thing. So we're going to see a few times where something is important, but then something else takes over and deprioritizes the first thing. And we're gonna see that happens with certain people's names. For example, Avram, his name was Avram, he became Avraham. We had Sarai, her name became Sarah. We have Yaakov and Yisrael, which we'll speak about. And we also have the concept of leaving Egypt, Yetziat Mitzrayim, being a tremendous miracle, but there will be greater miracles when the times of Mashiach. And at that time, the greater miracles are going to basically trump the importance of Yetziat Mitzrayim, that Yetziat Mitzrayim is going to become deprioritized. So we're going to speak about that tonight, Be'ezrat Hashem, the final Mishnah of the perek, the final Gemara of the perek, and we'll be concluding Be'ezrat Hashem our first perek, and depending on the time, we might even continue. We might even continue with the next perek. So here we go. Gemara, Masechet Berachot, Daf Yud Bet Amud Bet, 12B, Mishnah. We're going to do a quick recap. So if you're looking at the art scroll, where's the Mishnah? 12 before. 12 before. Here we go. Share screen. Matnitin, we already did this last time. Maskirin Yitziat Mitzrayim Balelot. We mentioned leaving Egypt in the evening. And as we said, when we say Yitziat Mitzrayim, mentioning Yitziat Mitzrayim, what is that referring to specifically? The topic of mentioning leaving Egypt is referring to a specific part of our tefillah. Which part of Shema? Third paragraph of Shema. Very good. The third paragraph of Shema Yisrael is referred to here in our Mishnah as Yitziat Mitzrayim. Mazkirin Yitziat Mitzrayim, mentioning leaving Egypt. Remember, we're gonna do this in the next perek. But remember, the first two parakim of Shema, meaning Shema and V'hayim Shamua, why are they part of the Shema?
They mentioned this.
Because they say in there, B'shoch b'chav kumecha, that you have to say V'dibarta bam. You should speak about Shema. Those are the sources for saying the Shema Yisrael. Why is the third paragraph of Shema, Vayomer, why is that part of the Shema Yisrael?
As like everything, there's a lot of different topics that it covers.
Very good. So, number one, it mentions Yitziat Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt. And that's really the key fundamental reason why we mention it every day. Because as Rama will tell you, every day we say that there are 10 things we're supposed to remember, including Zechirat Yitziat Mitzrayim, leaving Egypt. So it became embedded as part of the Shema Yisrael. Why this paragraph? There could have been a slew of paragraphs we could pick from. We could have picked from Balak. We could have picked from Parashat Behar this past week, where it talks about taking interest. We could talk about having kosher scales and not having rigged weights. Why did we pick this paragraph? That's what you said. Why? Because there are 6 different mitzvot in this paragraph of Vayomer. It talks about the fact that we left Egypt, which is one. But then it talks about keeping all of the mitzvot. It talks about the mitzvah of tzitzit, which is a very important mitzvah. It reminds us to do all the mitzvot. It talks about not having thoughts of heresy, which is not believing in Hashem, not going after your eyes, the temptations of your eyes, not believing in other gods. So there's so many things in this one paragraph as opposed to the others where there's only one, like don't charge interest. These are fundamental. Of course, everything is important. The main thing is Yitziat Mitzrayim. With that background, our Mishnah, Mazkirin Yitziat Mitzrayim Balelot, we do indeed mention Yitziat Mitzrayim in the evening, meaning we say the third paragraph of Shema in the night. There's a thought to say, you only say 3 paragraphs of Shema in the morning and 2 paragraphs of Shema in the evening. No, Mishnah says you say both. Amar Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, I am like 70 years old. He wasn't actually. He was still a teenager, but he became the president of the High Supreme Court. We spoke about this. And he commanded the respect of the nation. That's how he elevated himself to such a strong position. And he said, I am viewed as 70 years old, meaning people respect me as I live a long life. And as the Talmud tells us, the Gemara later will tell us, that he grew white hairs. It was like almost miraculously that he grew white hairs so that he continues to grow, get the respect of people. But even though I'm disrespected, I was not successful in convincing my colleagues or in finding the source that we should indeed mention Yitziat Mitzrayim in the evening. I wasn't successful until Ben Zoma, who was another rabbi, came and he proved it. So I wasn't able to do it, someone else did. What was his proof? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, it's a pasuk in Devarim that says, "Leman tizkor," so that you remember, et yom tzedcha me'eretz Yisrael, the day that you left Egypt, Kol Yemei Chaiyecha, all the days of your life. It could have simply said Yemei Chaiyecha, the days of your life, but it says Kol Yemei Chaiyecha. So what is this extra word kol coming to include? It's coming to include something that you would not have thought to have included. Yemei Chayecha hayamim. If it would only have said Yemei Chayecha, I would have thought that means the daytime, the days. Kol Yemei Chayecha, but since it comes to say all the days, halelot, that comes to include the nighttime, and that's Ben Zoma's proof, or his source, that you have to mention Yisrael Mishal even in the evening, because it says. Why couldn't the Mishnah
just like night and day?
Okay, so this is a pasuk. This is a pasuk from the Torah that says, you have to remember leaving Egypt all the days of your life. Okay? That pasuk is the simple meaning has nothing to do with Shema Yisrael, has nothing to do with the paragraph of Shema Yisrael, has nothing to do with the requirement of reciting it in the days and night. Simply meaning is that we have to remember and commemorate leaving Egypt always, forever, for all future generations. All the days of your life. Ben Zoma is coming to make a derasha. And this is why Avraham and Sarah says, like, I was never able to find the proof. He found the proof. This is not a, what you call it? It's not an ironclad source, it's a derasha. A derasha is finding a source and attaching a law to it. But even before you find this proof, this is what our Mishnah says, is that you have to say it at nighttime also. In other words, there's a machloket of how derashot work. According to one view, really the Rambam's view, derashot are attaching laws that are known to places in the Torah. The law is a known law from the times of Moshe Rabbeinu, we know. But it's finding a pasuk in the Torah and attaching to it. Others will say, no, you have the source and you learn from the source what to do. So that, to your point, this is not ironclad, and it's a machloket. And in fact, Chachamim argue. The key here is that the word kol is an inclusive word. It's coming to include something extra. And no word in the Torah is superfluous. So kol comes to include something else. What is it coming to include? Avraham and Sarah says it's coming to include something that you would have thought to have excluded. What would you have thought to exclude it? The nighttime, because the tzitzit only applies during the day. Really, okay, this is the way the Rashi will explain it coming up. You would have thought that tzitzit only applies during the day, so you don't need to say that third paragraph. Or the obligation of reciting of remembering Yitziat Mitzrayim is just once a day. So you would have thought not to have to say this. Kol comes to include it. The Chachamim argue and they say, no, that's not what it means. But then they have to answer. So what is the word kol coming to include? We believe that it's not superfluous, that it's coming to include something else. What is it coming to include? Yemei Chaiyecha ha'olam hazeh. Yemei Chaiyecha means your life in this world. Kol la'avin limot Mashiach is coming to say that even after the times of Mashiach, you'll still be remembering Yitziat Mitzrayim. And we're now in the Gemara going to understand, like, what does that exactly mean, even after the times of Mashiach. So we're not going to spend too much talking about Mashiach, but we will say the following. Here, we'll say the following. When we talk about the days of Mashiach, there's really three. Okay, this is actually very important. Okay, let's timestamp this separately. Okay, very important concept when it comes to talking about the times of Mashiach. There's really three elements when people talk about the times of Mashiach, and these three elements are often intermixed. One is called Mashiach, the days of Mashiach, Mashiach coming, when Mashiach is going to come. That's one. Two is what's called Techiyat HaMetim, which is the resurrection of the dead. The dead will come back to life, which is a fundamental belief of Yahadut. It's one of the principles of faith according to the Rambam. The third is what's called Olam Haba, the world to come. These are three things: the coming of Mashiach, resurrection of the dead, the world to come. There's two views. According to one view, these are all the same time. They're all happening together concurrently. According to another view, they have nothing to do with each other. They're separate. Okay? What does that mean? Let's start with the Rambam. The Rambam says they're separate from each other. What is coming of Mashiach? Mashiach is a king of Israel. He is the great-grandson of David HaMelech, the great-grandson of Yishai, the great-grandson of Yehuda. He is going to be, and Tamar, correct, that's the mom. There's going to be a king of Israel, and this king is going to be successful in fighting wars the same way David HaMelech was a king. Did David HaMelech happen in the world to come? No, he happened in this world. Did Shlomo HaMelech, who was a king, did he happen in the world to come? No, he happened in this world. This is what the Rambam says. Mashiach is going to be the great-grandchild of David HaMelech. He's going to be the one who reinstates kingship to Judaism. He's going to be the one that gets us back to building the Beit, bringing us out of Galut, get the Jewish people back to Eretz Yisrael, and build the Beit HaMikdash. No one's dead, or nothing has changed from the way the world is running. That's Melech HaMashiach. The resurrection of the dead, Techiyat HaMetim, according to the Rambam, is something else. What is that? There will be a time, and I don't know when, but it's going to be a time where everyone will come back to life. Whoever deserves of it, Kol Yisrael, unless the person loses it, you're right, not everyone, but there will be resurrection. So Avraham Avinu will come back. Yitzchak Avinu will come back. Moshe Rabbeinu will come back. They're all going to come, and the Rambam will come back. Rashi will come back. Imagine this. Imagine I say Rashi says, and Rashi says, like, I never said that. Imagine that all of a sudden, like, oh man. Okay, so but you're going to have them all come back. Tremendous. Yes. According to the Rambam, at the times of David HaMelech was their death. Yes. The times of Shlomo HaMelech was their death. Yes. According to the times of Mashiach, will there be death? Yes. According to the Rambam, Mashiach is the great-grandchild of Shlomo HaMelech, who will bring kingship back to Israel. Just the next king of Israel. Having nothing to do with death or life.
Resurrection in bodily form, or we don't know.
Resurrection will be in the bodily form, physical form on planet Earth.
At what age?
I don't know. You get to pick. Hashem will give you a preview. You like swipe right, left. Your old is your prime, Rama. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. It's the same for you. Okay, that's two. The third thing is Olam Haba. Olam Haba is not in this physical world. It's the Olam HaNeshamot. It's a world to come. It's something that no one has ever experienced, and it's not something we're going to experience in our bodies. It's something that the world to come with Hashem, enjoying Hashem's presence, the Olam HaEmet. Okay? What these are, we don't really know, but according to the Rambam, there's three distinct things. One has to do with a king. The same way we had kings, we'll have a king. We could have him tomorrow. He'll be the king tomorrow. Nothing's changing with us. And there will be a time when the dead resurrect. When, how old, what hair color, I don't know. But there's going to be a time where we all come back. And then after all of that, in the next world, there'll be Olam Haba, which is not happening in this world. It's not happening with our bodies. That's the Rambam calls these three separate things. According to the Ramban, and really everyone else, not everyone else, but according to many others, not everyone, many others, they're all happening at the same time. Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, all of the dead come back to life, resurrect, and are now going to experience this life without Yetzer Hara. We're only having Olam Haba. No suffering, no death, no pain. Olam Haba. It's all the same. Which one is the correct one? Stay tuned. To be continued. I don't know, but I hope to find out. Be'ezrat Hashem. I hope to see it with our own eyes soon. We want Mashiach to come. If Olam Haba is happening after we die, then we don't want it yet. Because we're not ready. We still have some work to do. But we want Mashiach to come right away. Okay, so with that background, how do we get to the days of Mashiach? There's a lot about this concept called Milchemet Gog Magog. There's going to be a lot of pain and a lot of suffering and a lot of wars and a lot of death that occur in the birth pangs, if you will, of preparing us, the labor pains, actually. The labor pains of getting us to the times of Mashiach is going to be painful, is what Chachamim tell us. So before that, it's going to be difficult. Okay? But there's going to be wars, and it's going to be powerful, and we're going to win these wars, and it's going to be so amazing that the shiabud, the redemption from this exile at the times of Mashiach is going to be much greater than the redemption from the times of Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's the background that you need to know. That when we left Egypt, you know how amazing that was with the sea splitting and all of this happening, and we're talking about it all the time? The redemption from the times of Mashiach is going to be much greater. Okay? Good? Have I confused everyone? No? Okay, I'll keep going. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
And what year is the outside date this is all gonna happen?
Who's talking about the year? I didn't say a year.
No, that's what I'm asking.
You want to know what year? What
Yeah.
year? I don't know. But I'll refer you to the video from Rav Ben Chaim. Who sent it last time? You sent it last time. Someone sent it. What? Rav Ben Chaim has a video right during the times of COVID where people were saying is COVID, so the times of Mashiach. Rav Ben Chaim has this video, and I'm pretty sure it was like off the cuff. Like it was just like before Shabbat, they put a camera on him, and he went through like a history of every time someone said that it's the times of Mashiach. Like great rabbis said this is Mashiach, and they were wrong. Starting with Rabbi Akiva, thought this was Mashiach, and he was wrong. And then someone else, and he thought it was Mashiach, and it was wrong. And even this person wrote something, and Vilna Gaon did some calculations, and it was wrong. Things happen, yeah, but it is all wrong. And then something else happens, but it was wrong. And what he said is, you could spend your entire life trying to figure out when Mashiach is going to come, and you could be wrong. Instead of spending time thinking about when Mashiach is going to come, instead, you pray and you say, I want Mashiach to come tomorrow, today. I want Mashiach now. And in the meantime, until Hashem decides for that to happen, I'm going to do everything I can to do things correct for him to come. But I'm not going to say he's coming in 200 years from now. It's a great video. Someone should find it, send it to the chat, which basically, and I'm telling you, what's even more amazing about this is I really don't think, I think it was just off the cuff. He's just saying, he said it's in this year and he was wrong. And he said it's this year and he was wrong. Just going through every single time in history. We don't know. We don't know when it's going to come. And trying to figure out when he's going to come is a waste of time. Okay? Okay, very good. Good question. Let's go to the Gemara. Here we go. Tanya, we learned in a Braita. The Braita continues the conversation between them. Amar lahem Ben Zoma lachachamim. So Ben Zoma, who brings a proof as to why you should say Yetziat Mitzrayim in the nighttime. Chachamim say, no, that's not talking about, the word kol is not coming to tell you to say, mention Egypt at night. It's coming to include that you have to mention Yetziat Mitzrayim in the times of Mashiach. So Ben Zoma says to them, do you really think we're going to be talking about leaving Egypt when the times of Mashiach? But don't we already know there's a pasuk in Yirmiyahu that is referring to the times of Mashiach, according to Ben Zoma. Hine, it's a long pasuk. Bear with me. Hine yamim ba'im, the days are coming. Ne'om Adonai. V'lo yamru od Chai Adonai. People will no longer say in the name of God, Asher Heilat b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. God took us out of Egypt. People aren't going to refer to God as the one who took us out of Egypt. Ki im Chai Adonai Asher Heilah. But rather, God is the one who brought us out of exile. V'asher hevi et zera bet Yisrael me'eretz Safona, brought us away from the northern nations and and from all of the nations that we've been exiled to. Meaning, the pasuk, the Yirmiyahu, the prophet, is going to say how the next exodus or the next redemption of the exile will be so great that you won't refer to God as the one that took us out of Egypt anymore, because there's something much more powerful than that. So Ben Zoma is saying, the pasuk says you have to remember Egypt, Kol Yemei Chaiyecha. The word kol is coming to include something. That's coming to include the night. You, Chachamim, say it's coming to include the times of Mashiach. But my issue with that is, in the times of Mashiach, we're not going to be mentioning Yetziat Mitzrayim. Because the next exodus, the next redemption of exile, is going to trump the previous one. Okay? Amrulo, so Chachamim say, yes and no. Lo sheta'aker Yetziat Mitzrayim imkoma. Not that Yetziat Mitzrayim is going to be completely uprooted. It's not that we're going to forget about it. We're still going to be mentioning it every day, even in the times of Mashiach. But what's going to happen is the redemption from the next exile that we're in today, that's going to become the main one. V'tziat Mitzrayim tafelo. And Exodus from Egypt will become secondary to it. So the response is, I agree. When Yirmiyahu says, it's going to come a day that we're not talking about leaving Egypt anymore. We're going to be talking about coming out of the next exile. The Chachamim says, like, yeah, as the main thing. We'll still mention Egypt every day. We'll still say it as part of the Shema Yisrael. But that doesn't mean we're going to forget about it at the times of Mashiach. We're still continuing to say it at the times of Mashiach. It's just that something else is going to be so much more important. For example, okay, this is maybe a terrible example, but you think about something like the Holocaust and you think about October 7th. Right now on people's minds is October 7th a lot more than the Holocaust. Now, this could be more of like a recent thing. It's something that we experienced. It's something that we saw. That could be the idea behind it. It could be how, when something happens that brings us out of this exile, we're building the Beit HaMikdash. Who's going to be talking about leaving Egypt when you're able to go bring korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash? You're going to be talking about Egypt. Are we going to still have Pesach? Yes. We're still going to have the mitzvah to say the story? Yes. But that's not the main thing on people's minds. That's how Chachamim explain it. Okay? How it's going to be something so powerful that it's going to cast a shadow over Yisrael. We're still going to mention it. So you follow the flow? The word kol is coming to include something. Ben Zoma says it's come to include that we're going to say Yitziat Mitzrayim in the nighttime. So Chachamim say no, it's coming to include the times of Mashiach. Ben Zoma says no, we're not going to talk about the times of Mashiach. And he says not as much, but we're still going to say it. It's just not going to be the main thing. Okay. Now here is another example, or a few examples where something still exists. It just takes the back seat. It's not the main thing. Kayotze bo ata omer. Very similarly, you say Lo yikareh od shimcha Yaakov. What happens? Hashem tells Yaakov Avinu, your name should no longer be Yaakov. Your name should be Yisrael. So what does it sound like? Then he has a new name. Should the name Yaakov be used anymore? No, it should be out of commission. Why? Because the pasuk says, your name shall no longer be called Yaakov. So it's done. So the Gemara says, but that's not the case. So we're turning now to Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. It doesn't mean that the name Yaakov is now uprooted and it can no longer be used, because actually it is used again in the Torah. Hashem does use it himself in the Torah. It's used by Hashem in the Torah. Ela Yisrael Ikar v'Yaakov Tafelo. It's just a matter of the name Yisrael now becomes the main name, right? So here's a concept where it says, the name Yaakov should no longer be used. It is used. It's just not used as much. Relatively speaking, it's not used as much. That's why when the prophet Yirmiyahu says, you're not going to mention that God took us out of Egypt anymore. You're only going to mention the next redemption. You are, it's just not as much. Relatively speaking. Okay? Another pasuk, V'chenu Omer, there's another pasuk in Yeshaya that says, Al tizkeru rishonot, don't even remember the first ones, V'kadmoniot al titbonanu. And the earlier ones, don't meditate on, meaning don't spend too much time thinking about it. Still think about it, but don't meditate too much on it. Al tizkeru rishonot. Don't even mention the first ones. Zeh shibud malchiot. This is the earlier malchiot that has to do with Paras, Umadai, Persia, Media, Madai, these earlier ones. Those we're not even going to remember anymore. V'kadmoniot atit bonanu, the earlier ones before that it says don't meditate on, don't ponder over, Zo Yetziat Mitzrayim. That's leaving Egypt, which means you'll still mention it, but you're not going to spend much time pondering over it. Okay? It's another proof. The rest of that pasuk says as follows, Hineni, why are you not going to have to remember these things of the past? Hineni oseh chadasha atat titzmach. I'm going to do something new, and that's going to spring forth. Tana Rav Yosef tells us, Zo Milchemet Gog uMagog, that is the war of Gog uMagog, and after the events of the war of the Gog uMagog, we're not going to remember the earlier ones, okay? What is Milchemet Gog uMagog? Again, Rama, to your point, every time something happens, we think it's that. Milchemet Gog uMagog, without Milchemet Sheshet Hayamim was that, or Milchemet Yom HaAtzmaut.
It's just guesswork.
We don't know. We'll know when it happens, but until then, we don't know. You guys know what the Rambam says about Bar Kokhba? You don't know this? Bar Kokhba. The Rambam says that Rabbi Akiva thought that Bar Kokhba, he was an army general and he was a Talmid Chacham, and he was very successful in fighting wars. He was the one that after after the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, he was very powerful. Rabbi Akiva was his number one ally. As the rabbi, was number one supporter. He thought he was Mashiach. Rabbi Akiva thought Bar Kokhba was Mashiach, that he was the one that was going to bring us back. Okay? What happened? He died. And the Rambam says one of the requirements of the Mashiach is he has to be alive. Right? And he's dead. So clearly he wasn't a Mashiach. This is what the Rambam says. Rabbi Akiva thought he was Mashiach until he died, and it was clear that he was not Mashiach. Could he have been Mashiach? Yeah. But he wasn't, because he died. And so that's what the Rambam says. It's like, there is no single one Mashiach. It could be any great-grandchild from David HaMelech that is a Talmid Chacham and is a war army general that could fight and could become the king of Israel. So it could be anyone.
What's a characteristic of Kol Yemei Chaiyecha that makes it that's the war? How do you know it's that war? But we don't know.
I don't know.
Is it written somewhere? No.
Yeah, I'm sure it's written somewhere, but you're talking to the wrong person. I don't know. I really don't spend much time thinking about it. Milchemet Gog and Magog. Some say it's Gog is the king, Magog is the nation that we're going to fight. We are going to fight Gog and Magog. Another say no, Gog is one side, Magog is the other side. I'm not exactly sure. This pasuk says from the north, but it also says and from everywhere else. So from the north sounds like Bavel. It's like north of, actually Iran is northeast. Russia is north. Turkey is north. Lebanon is north. Only Gaza isn't. Gaza's north of ALACH, but it's not the north. But it says from all of the other lands that I spread you. So anyway, okay, all right, here we go. And also there's no Jews in Gaza. So that's like, because it says like, I'm going to gather you from those countries. All right, here we go. Now we're going to have a fun story. Mashal lema davar domeh. Rama, you could use this as a Devar Torah. 100%. I know your delivery would be excellent for this. You could even elaborate and make it better. What's the Mashal? Mashal lema davar domeh. What is a parable of something that, look, you're never going to forget it, but it's just not going to be as important? A guy was walking. He was going for a walk. He sees a wolf. And he survived the wolf. I don't know, he threw some punches, he got some scratches, but he outran around the wolf. So what is he going to do? So everyone he would talk to, he would tell them the story of the wolf. He would tell people, I faced the wolf and I punched it in its mouth. I broke the tooth of the wolf and I survived. You're going to tell that story to everyone, right? Then what happened? This guy, just his luck, Pagabo Ari. The next day, the guy should really change his path to work. But it happens to be the next day on his path to work, he walked into a lion. And now that he walked into a lion, he fought the lion and he got saved from it. So now he's telling everyone, you get to tell everyone the story of a wolf or the story of a lion. What are you going to do? He tells someone the story of a lion. Next, Pagabo Nachash v'nitzal mimenu. This is like, what's the name of that Australian guy? Yeah, this is like Steve Irwin's story. Now all of a sudden he's faced with a snake, a venomous snake that's poisonous that could kill him in a second. And somehow he survived. So he forgets the first two stories. And now he's telling everyone the story of the snake. I don't know, maybe I'm like not in the wild as much, but I don't know. To me, I think maybe a lion is a little bit more scary than a snake, but I guess maybe a snake in one shot could kill the person with the venom. Whatever it is, it's like putting a hierarchy here that surviving a wolf is crazy, but not as crazy as surviving as a lion, which is not as crazy as surviving a snake. So if a person survives a snake, he's not going to go tell everyone like, oh, once there was a pigeon that came and tried to peck me. Like, it's like, it seems like nothing, right? So that's why it says how you almost forget. It's not that you actually forget. It's not like you'll never say the story again, but it's like, what's the main story? The main story is the story of the snake, right? Avkach Yisrael, so to Israel. Tzarot achronot mishakechot et harishonot. The later troubles and the later sufferings and the later redemptions are going to overshadow the previous ones. They still exist, but they'll overshadow them. Okay? Yes, question.
Because it's more recent, you might remember it might be more important. It doesn't have to be like crazier.
Right. Right. It could be like the recency effect of it. How like, yeah, you're remembering the recent story. It could also be that it's more powerful. It could be a combination of both. Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. All right. Now that we mentioned Yaakov, the pasuk. So you see why we quoted Yaakov? Someone explain to me, why did we quote the pasuk about Yaakov and Yisrael?
Even though we have the later one, we still use the earlier.
Correct, right? Even though we have a new one, we still use the first one. But more than that, the pasuk says explicitly, your name should no longer be Yaakov. It should be Israel. And the Torah itself uses the name Yaakov again. So, meaning when it says you'll no longer do this, it doesn't have to be taken literally. It could mean relative to the other thing. So your name will no longer be Yaakov with respect to Israel, meaning Israel is the main one and Yaakov is the secondary. Similarly, when the prophet says people aren't going to say God is the one that took us out of Egypt, he's the one that took us out of the other exiles, you still say it, but it's relatively speaking, it's not said as much. Now, once we talk about the names, we're going to talk about a few other names. We're going to talk about Avraham, and we're going to talk about Sarai. Okay? Here we go. Anyone's name Avraham? You're Avraham? Oh, me too. Anyone's name Avram? Is anyone's name Sarah? No, maybe someone watching the Zoom. But is anyone's name Sarai? Also, I actually know a Sarai. But here we go. Avram, who Avraham? So once we talk about name changes, quotes a pasuk from Divrei Hayamim that's going through the generations from Adam Harishon, and it's going through the generations, and it talks about Avram. It says, Terach had a son, Avram, who Avraham, who was the same person as Avraham. So the pasuk says, why was this his name, and why did the name change? So, Batchila Naasa Av Le'aram. You know why his name was Avram? Because the area that he was in was called Aram, and he was like the father of Aram, like the leader of that area. So he was called Avram, Av Aram. Ulbesof Naaseh Av L'chol Ha'olam Kulo. The hey that's added is because he becomes the Av Hamon Goim of the entire world, not just his area, but the entire world. He went from being a local leader, then he moved to Eretz Yisrael, and from Eretz Yisrael, he ended up becoming the father of the entire world. Av Hamon Goim, of many nations. So that's just a play on the name, why his name was Avram, local father, to Avraham, to the whole world. Sarai, Sarah, similarly. Her name was first Sarai, then it became Sarah. Why? The word Sarai means my princess. Like Sar is a king or a minister or a princess. Sarai means my princess. Again, localized. Let's say for Abraham, his queen, his princess, and then afterwards she became for the entire world. That's what it's going to say. B'tchila na'aset Sarai le'umata. First, she was the princess of her area, the same way, just like almost like my princess, just like Abraham was the father of his area. Then she became the princess, the queen of the entire world. Fine. Let's talk about naming your kid Avram. Taneh bar kapara. Kol Korei Avraham, Avram, or not necessarily naming your kid, but whoever calls Avraham by his first name, by his prior name, Avram, meaning as you're talking about the story, you talk about him as Avram, over ba'aseh, you are going against a positive mitzvah in the Torah. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, positive mitzvah, Shneimar, that says, Haya shimcha Avraham. Your name should be Avraham. So if you refer to that character as Avram, you're going against this pasuk that says his name should be Avraham. Okay, we're gonna come back and talk about this in terms of halakha, but first let's see what the Gemara says. Bar Kokhba tells us that you have a positive mitzvah to refer to the character as Avraham and not to Avram. Rabbi Eliezer Omer over belav. You also transgress a lo ta'aseh, a negative commandment, if you refer to him as Avram. Why? Shlemar v'lo yikare od et shimcha Avram. The Torah says your name should no longer be called Avram. You are calling him Avram. You're going against the Torah. So you have here two opinions that are saying you have a mitzvah from the Torah, positive and negative, not to refer to that character as Avram, but to refer to him as Avraham. Don't use the name Avram anymore. You're reading the Torah, it's one thing. You're talking about him, don't use that name anymore. He's not Avram anymore, he's Avraham. So the Gemara says, Ela me'ata, according to that train of logic, HaKorei leSarah Sarai, if someone refers to Sarah by her original name of Sarai, Achanameh, is that also going against the Torah? The Gemara says, no. You know why? It's not the same thing. Hatam, by Sarah or by Sarai, Kucha Berichu Amar Avraham, Hashem told Avraham, Sarai Ishtecha, your wife, Sarai, Lo tikra Shema Sarai, you, Avraham, should no longer call her Sarai, Ki Sarah Shema, because her name is Sarah. Meaning this was a command for Avraham, but not for everyone else. When it comes to Avraham, the pasuk says in more general terms, the name Avraham should no longer be used. From now on, you should be called Avraham. It's talking like in general to everyone. So we shouldn't call him Avram. We should call him Avraham. Whereas by Sarai, Hashem tells Avraham, you don't call your wife Sarai anymore. That's not her name. You call her Sarah. It's directed to Avraham, which means if I call her Sarai, I'm not going against the Torah. So the Gemara says, okay, let me talk about my next character. Ela me'ata, according to this, HaKorei Yaakov, Yaakov, Achenameh, if someone calls Yaakov, it refers to Yaakov as Yaakov, is that a sin? So the Gemara says, no, it's not. Shani Hatam, it's different in the case of Yaakov. Why? The HADRAN krah, because the Torah itself refers to him as Yaakov, even after the Torah says don't use the name Yaakov anymore. So the very fact that the Torah itself uses the name Yaakov means I could use the name Yaakov. Dichtiv, as the pasuk says, "Vayomer Elohim leYisrael." God says to Israel, which means his name is now Yisrael. B'marot halayla, in the vision of the night, Vayomer, and he calls him and he says, Yaakov, Yaakov. So God says to Israel the following, Yaakov. Okay, so Hashem himself in the Torah is calling him Yaakov after he already became Israel. So since God uses the name Yaakov, then we could use it also. So here's where we're going. So far, we're saying the name Avram can no longer be used. You have to use Avraham. And if you do, you're going against the Torah. What about Sarai? No, that was only told to Avraham. Fine. What about Yaakov? Good point, but since Hashem himself uses it, we have a precedent. He used it, so we can use it. Okay? Now the Gemara says, so go back to the Avraham case. You're telling me I can never refer to this man as Avraham anymore? Mativ Rabbi Yosef bar Avin, ve'item Rabbi Yosef bar Zevida. So there's a contradiction. But by Rabbi Yosef, either Rabbi Yosef bar Avin or Rabbi Yosef bar Zevida, it says, Atahu Adonai Elohim asher bacharta ve'Avram ve'otzeito meor kastim ve'samta shemo Avraham. Where is this pasuk from? Yeah, exactly. Say it again. Who said it? So we say it in the morning. It's from pasuk in Nehemiah, but we say it in the Vayvar David. This is the time where you give tzedakah or you pull out your phone for Venmo or something. But this is that chapter where we're giving the tzedakah. It's Atahu Adonai Elohim Asher Bacharta be'Avram ve'otzeito me'or kastim v'samta shemo Avraham. Oh, Nehemiah came many years after him. What is he writing in his text? He said, God, you're the one who chose Avram and then decided to change his name to Avraham. Why are you even using that name? You're not allowed to use that name. What do you think? What do you think the answer is? Right? Because you're telling me that once the name Avraham was given to him, you no longer could use that first name, the prior name. Nehemiah says, Hashem, you chose Avram in Ur Kasdim, and then you decided to change his name, but you're using the name. Why is he allowed to do that? He's using it to praise God for what he did. Yeah, he's telling over the story of what happened. Effectively, he's using it as a praise of Avraham and really of Hashem. So that's exactly what the Gemara is going to say now. Amar le, so the Gemara answers, Hatam navihu is a prophet, that he is talking about the praises of Hashem exactly as what you said. And he's talking about the story of what happened. It would be the same as me saying right now, Hashem chose Avram and changed his name to Avraham. Like, oh, you said the name Avram. Okay, but I'm saying the story. I'm not using this as his name. By the way, I heard a very nice explanation of this, but Let's say, for example, someone is a person in the government and then he becomes the president. Let's say, for example, Biden. President Biden, before he was a president, at some point, he was a senator. So beforehand, they would call him Senator Biden. Or you have like a congressman, or you have a governor, right? So the title changes and it goes up. He used to be called senator, then he used to be called vice president, then he was called president. Tomorrow, or let's say not tomorrow, whenever he stops being president, if someone refers to him as Senator Biden, what does that mean? It's a form of disrespect. You're going back to the previous one? No, don't do that. But if you say it in a form of praise by saying, even when he was senator, he was still doing this type of thing. And I'm saying it as a praise here. But even when he was just a senator, he fought for these causes. From back in the 70s, Senator Biden fought for this. So if I say Senator Biden in that tense, what am I saying? I'm saying as a praise, really, where I'm saying like, even from back then, he was so great. So that's how I heard this nice connection of saying, Hashem, you chose Avraham when he was still Avraham, and that's showing how great he was back then, before he was this famous figure, but not because he was famous, because of the humility that he had, because of this. So it's almost like a praise to talk about going back to the roots. So it's not that the Navi is referring to him as Avram, it's just that he's talking about the history. Okay? Yes?
Words pretty much say Asher B'charta Avram, which is a complete sentence on its own. So it's kind of saying you chose Avram. It could have also said when you chose Avraham when he was still Avram, which is not really referring to him as it's referring to him as Avraham, but giving him the other name of Avram, saying that he used to be called that. It's saying B'charta Avram is
excellent.
Right,
Excellent question. You're saying it could have said Asher B'charta Avraham. Kishu Haya Avram, or something like that. You could have picked that. So I think what's misleading here is we're only giving a partial quote, right? Let's just look at the full quote, and I think given the proximity and the flow, maybe that answers your question. Look at this pasuk. It says, "Atahu Adonai Elohim asher bacharta beAvram ve'otzeto me'or kasdim v'samta shemo Avraham," and named him Avraham. It's in one line. It's coming in one phrase. It's not like what you're saying is correct in that he's referring to him as Avram, which should be a problem. But it's coming all in the same line. Since it's coming in the same line, it's like it's not period. It's like you picked Avram and made him Avraham. So that's how it's explained, that since it's not like it says it without picking the next name. If it would have just ended there, and that would have been a problem. Sorry? There is an Tanakh here, but it's all part of the same pasuk. It's like part of the flow. It's part of the flow. It's a good question. So, yeah.
Why do we choose to refer now to Yaakov as Yaakov, not Israel?
Excellent question. So the name of Yaakov and Yisrael, there is something that I have heard many times. I have never checked into it myself. And every time I think about this, I tell myself I'm going to check into it. I still haven't done it. So maybe someone can force me to do it. You know what? We can do it as a group. Can we do it as a group? No, you don't even know what I want you to do. But I want your help, because it's actually something that I've been meaning to do for a long time. So help me do this. Look at the footnote on 13A2, footnote number 17 in the art scroll. Okay? Footnote number 17 in the art scroll says as follows. Since the name Jacob was later used by God himself, it is obvious that in the previous verse, he did not mean to prohibit the use of his name, but to make it secondary. From the time of the change onward, here you go. From the time of the change onward, the name Yaakov was used for matters pertaining to physical and mundane, while the name Israel was used for matters reflecting the spiritual role of the patriarch and his descendants. Which means the name Yaakov, from the time that he had that name change, the name Yaakov is referring to physical aspects of the person, and the name as a father of Israel physically, and afterwards the name Yisrael is referred to the leader spiritually. and spiritual leadership of Israel. Okay, so this is said by Rabbeinu Bachya in Berachot 35, chapter 35, pasuk 10. What I've always wanted to do, and I really just, I've been, I don't know why, maybe it's my Yetzer Hara, for some reason doesn't want me to do this, is after that pasuk, find every time in the Torah that it says either Yaakov or Yisrael, and then ask, is this spiritual? Is this physical? Can you explain this as physical? I'll explain it. It's not that many times. It's not that many times, but you got to do the work. So, someone want to help me? Here's the first thing you got to do is just go through and index, just make a list of every time it says Yaakov or Yisrael, right? And then write the context, and then say, would you consider this to be spiritual or physical? And does it line up? You know, really, you know what you should do? You should have two people do this. Oh, I'm having fun with this now.
One spiritual, one physical.
No. Yeah. One person should go through and find all the names and write the context of that pasuk, and then block the name that was used. Okay, is block, was it Yaakov or Yisrael? And then based on the context with this rule, you guess, is it Yaakov or Yisrael? And then see if you're right. And then if you're right, boom, we just proved the rule. If not, then you have some good questions that could lead to some good divrei Torah. You could say, I went through every one and they all matched, except for this one. Why? And then you come up with the whole chidush, you know? Okay, but we could do a kahoot. Yeah, okay, I'm not doing a kahoot. You guys could do it. Yeah, go ahead. Aha. All right, there you go. So you're asking a question now on why in the Amidah we pick Yaakov. Okay, good question. Good question. What are you doing?
Pasuk is very interesting. The first pasuk in Shemot that uses both names in the same
Okay, there you go. The first pasuk in Shemot. Oh, I have an answer already. When we went down to Egypt from Israel, we went down physically and we went down spiritually. It hurt us spiritually as well. It had a spiritual effect. Yeah. Okay, so I mean, you gotta get creative here. Okay, no, I don't know, but I'm saying this is something I've always wanted to do. So we could do it together. All right, someone take it on. I'm not volunteering for you. Okay, yes.
And how do I answer the question?
I don't know. I'm not here to start going through the specifics. It's a separate project, a separate analysis. I haven't even looked at it. I literally said I've never looked at it. No, but I think the other thing that we should do is look at the Rabbeinu Bachya, because the way he's quoting it, maybe Rabbeinu Bachya gives examples. I actually think he gives examples. I'm not sure.
It says like it doesn't get rid of the name. It just says it's no longer name, not only Yaakov.
Correct. Okay, hold on a second. Just because Cody asked, and it's a good question.
I mean, also he had his children when he was Yaakov.
Could be.
Same name,
Okay, so here, Vayomer lo Elohim shemcha Yaakov, lo yikare shemcha od Yaakov ki im Yisrael yeshemecha, vayikra et shemo Yisrael. Let's see if I could find the Rabbeinu Bachya. Do they have it here?
Yeah, it's
So it starts with, here we go. Okay, there's only one. Okay, oh, he does give examples. Yeah. According to Nachmanides, although Esau's guardian angel, okay. No, he doesn't give examples. Okay, all right. Here is the source. Let's look at it and do some work. I owe you an answer. I owe you an answer. I owe you a specific answer. I owe you an answer. No, I owe you an answer. I don't owe you anything. But I owe you an answer about Okay, here we go. Oh, everyone who is on the Zoom. Everyone who's on the Zoom, please unmute yourself. You don't have to put on your camera, but I would appreciate if you put on your camera also. We are now going to say the words all together. There are words that you say at the end of the chapter. It's 3 words. Those words are HADRAN, ALACH, Me'ematai. I want everyone else to say it together. HADRAN, ALACH,
HADRAN, ALACH, Me'ematai.
What does that mean? Hadran alach
We'll
means
come back to it.
we will return to you. So we just finished the first perek of Masechet Berachot, and we are telling Masechet Berachot, we're coming back. I'll be back. I'm not. This is not farewell. This is just the hitraot. I'm gonna come back to you very soon. I just have some more parakim to learn, but I'll never forget about you. So that's what we're saying now as we are concluding our first perek of Masechet Berachot. Hadran alach me'ematai. But then we have to move on to the next perek, the next Mishnah, and Be'ezrat Hashem we will come back to it. Okay?
What's the word that we have to say, Rabbi?
What is it?
What's the word that we have to say, Rabbi?
Hadran
Hadran,
alach.
Tanakh.
Alach means we will return to you. Hadran alach me'ematai. Me'ematai is the name of the chapter. I'm just going to put it on the screen. Here, these are the words over here. Hadran alach me'ematai means we will return to you. Me'ematai. Me'ematai is the first word of our chapter, so that's the name of the chapter. By the way, if you don't understand, if you don't know what you're reading, the English is, may we return to thee from what time? It's somewhat confusing. But me'ematai is the name of the chapter. It says from what time do we say Shema in the evening? Okay, with that, we're not done. We're never done. We're going to tell me'ematai, we're going to come back to it because we're going to move on to something else. So let's go. The first Mishnah of the second perek of Masechet Berachot. Everyone ready? Let's do it. Let's go. Here we go. We are going to teach high level we're going to go through three concepts of the Shema Yisrael. We're now getting back to the Shema Yisrael. Three ideas in this Mishnah. High level, you might have a lot of questions and you should. But this is a Mishnah, it's going to be high level. Rule number one, or concept topic number one, has to do with a rule called Mitzvot, Tzerichot, Kavana. That when you do a mitzvah, you need to be mindful and present consciously as you're doing. You need to have in mind that you're actually doing a mitzvah. But if you don't have that in mind, you're not fulfilling the mitzvah. That is not going to be taught in the context of Shema Yisrael. How so? Here we go. Matnitin, Mishnah says, Haya, Korei Torah. A person is reading the Torah. He's reading through the words of the Torah. And it comes time to the time of Shema Yisrael in the morning. What is the time of Shema Yisrael in the morning? I'm asking you. We're doing a review here.
Alot HaShachar.
3 hours. The latest time or the earliest time?
Earliest time.
Before night, right before.
I don't think anyone got it so far.
Alot HaShachar? Amud HaShachar.
Come on, guys. Come on.
Oh.
Very good. Very good. Okay. These are all of the opinions. Very good. Okay, Korei, you were reading the Mishnah in your mind. You saw that? I don't know if you guys saw that, but Korei remembered the Mishnayot by heart. He didn't know, so he went through and he just read it. He said, oh, it's right there. Exactly. It's when the Mishnah says, Mishiakir ben techelet lelavan, when you're able to differentiate between the colors of white and blue. The Mishnah asks from when, and that's what the Mishnah answers. That Mishiakir, from being able to recognize and distinguish between white and blue. The next opinion says no, between green and blue. And the Gemara says, someone said it, as a braita, is when you're able to recognize a friend, an acquaintance, from 4 amot away. The answer is Mishiakir. That is the time to start saying Shema. Now, whoever said Alot HaShachar, like Ilan, whoever said, you said Alot HaShachar, we did talk about how B'di'eved, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says you're allowed to say it even earlier. The time of Anetzach Hama is what we said, the ideal time is to say it right before Netzach Hama so that you could be Somech Geulah Tefillah and put it together. So it's not that your answers were wrong. Your answers were all correct, but the real answer is Mishiakir. The time that you're able to recognize, and we have between white and blue, between green and blue, and between and recognizing a friend. Okay, whatever that time is, that's a discussion for the first chapter. Second chapter says, let's say I'm reading the Torah. Let's say I'm reading that it's my Bar Mitzvah Parsha. Or let's say I'm reading the Torah this morning, Shabbat morning. And as I'm reading the Torah, I'm practicing my Aliyah. And my Aliyah has the Shema Yisrael in it. Or let's say, for example, I'm checking a mezuzah. The mezuzah has the Shema Yisrael in it. Let's say I'm checking the mezuzah at 5 a.m. and in the middle of my checking, I'm checking like 10 mezuzot. In the middle of checking, all of a sudden the time of the morning Shema came. So that's our case. Haya Korei Torah. A person was reading the Torah. V'higia zman hamikra. And the time to fulfill the mitzvah of Shema began. Im kiven libo yatsa. If you focused your heart, meaning you had intent to fulfill the mitzvah, then you fulfilled the mitzvah. Implication being that if you do not have in mind to fulfill the mitzvah, then you're not fulfilling the mitzvah. If the guy is practicing his Torah part to read, and it happens to be including the Shema Yisrael, and you're just reading it, you didn't do your mitzvah of Shema if you don't have in mind to do the mitzvah of Shema. Right? Get it? That's the first rule of our Mishnah. I want everyone to say with me, Mitzvot, Tzerichot, Kavana. Whoever was with us in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, we learned this concept. What was the context of in Masechet Rosh Hashanah?
Shofar.
Yeah, shofar. What happened?
Shofar, you have to have a kavanah that you're fulfilling.
Very good. How was someone blowing the shofar not for kavanah?
For some Mashiach.
Very good, very good. Okay, we came up with the two answers. Okay, you guys. So say yours. It says that someone is walking by a Bet Knesset. Right? Imagine you have a lot of shuls in your city. You're going from one and you're walking to the next Bet Knesset, and as you're walking, you hear the shofar. You hear it on Rosh Hashanah. You heard the whole thing as you're walking. The guy's super fast, blows the whole thing. You heard it. Did you fulfill your obligation? Well, if you had in mind, yeah. If not, you didn't. There you go. His example was Hatokea Lashir. Someone just blowing it because he likes the sound. The guy's a trumpet player and he doesn't have his trumpet, so he takes his shofar and he just likes he likes the beat, he likes the rhythm of do 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 do. So the same concept. If he has in mind, very good. You guys came up with the examples. Okay, question or no? Okay, very good. Okay, good. That is rule number one of our Mishnah. Mitzvot Tzerichot Kavana. Rule number two, or concept number two, has to do with.
Rabbi, I have just a question. Does
Sure.
that apply to all mitzvot? Like, even if, let's say, you did a good deed to someone and like you didn't mean to do it?
Okay, excellent question. Stay tuned in the Gemara when we unpack this rule. Okay, the Gemara is going to unpack this rule, and we'll talk about it then. Okay, but excellent question. Oh, yeah. Okay, very good. Someone remind me. I wanted to mention something about Avraham and Avraham. I'll mention that at the end. Okay. Let's wait. Let's finish the Mishnah, then we'll open up for questions. Okay. The second rule is, where in the Shema Yisrael and the Berachot Kriyat Shema am I allowed to talk? Specifically, where am I allowed to say, give a greeting to someone by saying good morning, hello? Where am I allowed to, would it be different if I'm giving the greeting or if I'm responding? Doesn't matter where I am. So you're saying king, okay, so here we go. Let's see what the Mishnah says. It's a machloket. Ba perakim, which means between the chapters, and we'll define exactly what that means, but between the chapters, sho'el mipnei hakavod, you are allowed to greet someone, meaning initiate the greeting out of respect, someone that you have kavod for, someone that you respect, umeshiv, and you're also allowed to respond to that greeting. Uva emsa, in the middle of the chapter, of let's say one of the chapters of Shema, in the middle of the chapter, sho'el mipnei hayirah, a person may greet someone out of fear, umeshiv, and respond to a greeting. Divrei Rabbi Meir. This is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir does not differentiate between opening a greeting and responding to a greeting. What he says is between the chapters, you're allowed to do it for someone that you honor, like let's say a respectable rabbi or a respectable person, someone that someone who's elderly that you have to show kavod to. That's in the middle between. That's between chapters. And in the middle of it, and he doesn't, Rabbi Meir doesn't differentiate between whether I say hello or I'm responding hello. It's the same. Then in the middle of the chapter, it's only if it's someone that I'm supposed to fear. So Rashi says, it means someone that can kill you, like the king. Right? The king, his word is, this person disrespected me, give him death. So that type of a person. So out of fear, there's a difference between kavod and yirah. I'm going to elaborate on this more. We have a lot to discuss. But so far, let's just get the opinions down. Rabbi Meir says, between the paragraphs, what are you allowed to do? Between the paragraphs? This is all Rabbi Meir. The first two things of between paragraphs and in the middle of paragraphs is the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Between the paragraphs, you're allowed to greet and respond out of honor. In the middle of a paragraph, honor is not enough. There has to be fear. And if there's fear, you're allowed to greet and respond. That's the opinion of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda said, sorry?
You could speak in the middle according to him, or just respond like through just like a nod.
This is to actually talk. You're actually shoel means to ask, say how are you? Meshiv means good morning. It's a response. It's to actually say the words. Rabbi Yehuda says, I'm going to change the requirements for initiating a greeting and responding to that greeting. Because to initiate the greeting, it's got to be really important. But to respond, if you don't respond, that could be offensive. It's more offensive not to respond than not to initiate, right? If I don't say anything, I don't say anything. But if you say good morning to me and I ignore you, that's worse than me not saying anything. I mean, you didn't say anything either. So Rabbi Yehuda Omer, ba'emsa, in the middle of a chapter, sho'el mibnei ha'yirah. He agrees with Rabbi Meir that you're allowed to greet someone for fear. Umeshiv mibnei ha'kavod. But you're allowed to respond to someone even for a notch down, even if you're not afraid of them, but you just want to show them respect, you're still allowed. The guy said something to you, you're allowed to respond to him in the middle of a paragraph. But between the paragraphs, it's a notch down. Sho'el mibnei ha'kavod, you're allowed to greet and initiate a greeting out of respect for someone. Umeshiv shalom lechol adam. And you're allowed to respond to anyone. It could even be a kid. Anyone who gives you a greeting. In the middle, Rabbi Yehuda says, you're allowed to go ahead and respond to their greeting. Okay? Now, let's define what is the chapters, what is considered in the middle of a chapter, what's considered between the chapters. Eluhen ben ha'parakim. This is what you call between the paragraphs. Ben bracha rishona l'shniya. Between the first bracha and the second bracha. You know the first bracha is Baruch Hashem, Yotzer HaMe'arot, Ahavat Olam Be'avtenu. So between Baruch Hashem, Yotzer HaMe'arot, that's the end of the first bracha. Now is called Ben Prakim, between the chapters. Another Ben, so that's the first one. Ben Sheniya L'Shema. The second one is, between the chapters, is between the second bracha and Shema. Ben Shema L'Vahayim Shamoa. Between the first paragraph of Shema and Vahaya, the second paragraph of Shema. Ben Vahayim Shamoa L'Vayomer. Between the second paragraph of Shema and the third paragraph of Shema. Ben Vayomer L'Emet V'Yatziv. And between Vayomer to Emet V'Yatziv, which Emet is really part of the bracha, that's another one between the chapters. So we just said between chapters there's certain rules. In the middle of chapters there's certain rules. What is between chapters? We just said, tell me, what is between chapters? Between first bracha and second bracha. Between second bracha and Shema, there's no third bracha before. Between Shema and V'Haya, very good. Before V'Haya, after Shema, good. What else? V'Haya, Vayomer, and then Vayomer to Emet V'Yatziv. Very good. Okay, the end of Vayomer, Ani Hashem Elohechem, Emet V'Yatziv V'Nachon. Okay, so those are what we're calling between the chapters. We have a lot to figure out here. This Gemara, this Mishnah is like screaming for a chart. We need to have a chart here. You have a chart of initiating a greeting, responding a greeting, between paragraphs, in the middle of paragraphs, Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, honor, fear. Okay, there's a lot here. Okay, we're not done. Should I open up for questions? Let me see where it is. Okay, fine. So, yeah, we could pause here for some questions. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Question on just when it talks about fear, is this like related to like a king, and if you don't say what does fear mean?
Okay, very good question. So Tomer, I think Tomer started to say it. You learned this before. Because I said a king, you said a king or something. You've learned this before? Okay, so we have to define what does it mean kavod and what does it mean yirah. Very good, very good. So we're going to see the opinion of Rashi and the opinion of others, okay, and of really the Rosh. The Rosh is the main one. So there's different opinions. We have to define what is fear, what is honor. But what we're telling from our Mishnah is that fear is a higher level. Because according to all of the opinions, fear, the threshold of speaking is much less. If you fear, okay, you know, in the middle of Shema, go ahead and say something. If you fear. So we have to define, is that a fear of I'm scared you're going to kill me, or a fear, sense of awe, like you said?
No, I'm thinking in the sense of like, I guess, different than kill or awe, but more like, let's say like, I'm praying, I'm saying Shema, and someone who it's their first time going to Kansas is going to say hi to me. Right? So I fear that they're gonna think, oh, religious people, they're gonna say hi to me, you're never gonna come again. Right?
So actually, excellent question. So here is more of fear of like the outcome.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not really fear of the person, but it's fear of the outcome. That's very interesting. All of the Rishonim speak about like because of the person, like what you have to have a certain attitude toward the person, not because of an outcome. But that's an excellent insight. Very interesting question. You don't want to embarrass the guy. I have a trick for that. Elon, you had a question, and I'll come to you.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, that was easy. Yes, question?
That's kind of debunks my question, but I was gonna say, why are we even talking about greetings during prayer?
Yeah, like so he's saying like, listen, I'm praying. What am I talking to my guy and asking him about what's going on? I'm in the middle of tefillah. Okay, but you'd be surprised. Many times people will come talk to you in the middle of tefillah. I have a few tricks. I'm going to tell you a few tricks in a second. Question? Right. So it's like we're talking about giving a greeting. Does that mean hello? Or does that mean, hey, how are you? How's your daughter? I heard you did this. Oh, really? What are you working in? Oh, I had a question for you. Like, is this like networking all of a sudden in the middle of Shema, and between Vayomer and Emet V'Yatziv, you're like having a full-on conversation? Is a good question. Like, if you're allowing me to do something, is there a threshold that like I can't say that much? Maybe is it a time limit? Is it a word limit? Excellent question. It has to be addressed. Very good. Yes.
Also, is it gonna talk about like why is it even mentioning that you inquire or just responding?
Okay, very good. So it's like we're clearly seeing how, according to Rebbe Meir, there's no difference between whether I initiate the conversation or I'm responding. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's a difference. And it's like you could have said, look, I understand why you have to respond because you don't want to embarrass the guy. But why do I have to start talking? Right? Like when would I in the right mind ever have to interrupt my Shema Yisrael to initiate a conversation? Okay, I think part of that is going to go back to understanding what is honor and what is fear. Like, who are these people exactly? Okay, it's a very important question.
So here, automatically, in the middle of the paragraph, you're allowed to just say hello or talk.
So according to both opinions, you're allowed to respond in the middle of a chapter if you fear someone. But to initiate, Rabbi Yehuda says no. Don't initiate for fear. Initiate only for honor. Right? Sorry, the opposite. That's what I mean. I really think a chart would be very helpful for this. We'll make a chart for next week. But what Rabbi Yehuda says is that you're allowed to initiate for fear, and Rabbi Meir also says you're allowed to initiate for fear in the middle of a chapter. Responding, Rabbi Meir says you can only respond in the middle of a chapter if you fear the person, not if it's an honor. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, no, I can even take it down a notch because I have that embarrassing factor. So even if it's just someone that I honor, okay. You know what? I do want to read a little bit about who is fear, who is honor, and there's a footnote here. So let's go ahead and read that. We're not done with the Mishnah, but that's okay. Let's read that footnote. Let's find it. Where is it? Okay, there we go. Footnote number 8. That's the fear one. No. Footnote number 6. Let's start with footnote number 6 is honor. Okay, footnote number 6 is where the thing says Mivnei Kavod for honor. The Mishnah speaks of an esteemed individual that you're giving honor to, one whom it is appropriate to greet first, a Torah scholar or an elderly person. So I think who said that? You asked that question. There are times where it's someone so respectable that you really should go out of your way to greet the person first if it's an esteemed individual, like a Torah scholar or an elderly person. right? You shouldn't wait for them to tell you or say something to you. Rambam, however, includes in this category only those whom one is obligated to honor from the Torah, really, such as one's father, teacher, or one who is greater than him in wisdom. So you see, the first opinion is including really anyone that you should give respect to, even an elderly person. The Rambam says no, more specifically, someone that you have to give kavod to, like your father or your rabbi. The Rav in his commentary, okay, fine, whatever. Now look at footnote 8. At this juncture of his recital, he may extend the greeting only to one who he fears would kill him. He may not greet an esteemed individual. So according to Rashi, when we say fear, the fear is the fear of the person is going to kill me if I don't say something. Okay? All of the commentators ask, hold on a second. If you're afraid someone's going to kill you, you can do anything. Right? For pikuach nefesh, like if someone has a gun to your head and says, say hello to me, you're going to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle, wait until I can get to the end of the paragraph and then I'll say hello to you, because otherwise, right? So everything goes on hold. So that's what, when Rashi says you're going to kill him, the Rashba and the Rosh argue, however, that in the case where one's life is in danger, one may certainly interrupt in the middle of the Shema recital. For most mitzvot are for it to save a life. Right in the middle. What need is there for the Tanakh to teach this here? Rosh and Rashba thus explain the Mishnah refers to a parent or a teacher whom one is obligated to fear, to be in awe of. So here we go. According to the Rosh, the word yirah is not afraid, but it's someone that you have to have awe of. It's really respect for, and that's really a parent or a teacher. Okay? According to the Rashba, for the sake of honor. But now, if that's the case, so what do you call honor? What do you call kavod? Refers not to one's father or teacher, but anyone who is wiser than he. So now you have to go back and say, according to that opinion, kavod is someone who's wiser. Yirah is a teacher or a parent. Whereas according to Rashi, kavod is a teacher or a parent, and yirah is someone who's going to kill you. What do they say in defense of Rashi? Rashi doesn't mean someone who has a gun to your head right now is going to kill you. Rashi means it's someone who's important, who if I don't respond to, I'm afraid that down the line something is going to be tricky. So it's not that the person is going to kill me now, but it's that this person is powerful enough that if the person wants to have me dead, they can. This is the type of person you don't even want to get started with. So you want to show them respect from the beginning. Okay, look, we have a lot to unpack here. This Mishnah, we're not even done with the Mishnah. There's much more to the Mishnah. There's a lot of opinions. We have to go through all of these opinions, explain them. And then there's two things that I have to say. Number one, nowadays, most people, if you're in the Bet Knesset and you're saying the Shema Yisrael and your rabbi comes to you, your rabbi does not want you to start talking to him in the middle of Shema Yisrael. I can tell you that if Rabbi Ben Chaim sees me and I'm praying the Shema, he's not going to get offended for me not saying hello to him, right? So like that's one thing. It seems like nowadays these laws. Yeah, let's hear.
So you walk in, you walk to, for whatever reason, to shop during.
Never happened.
Never
Right.
happened. Let's say do I greet you at that point, or is this a greeting? We're gonna get into what is a greeting.
Okay, excellent. So now you're saying, what about non-verbal, right? Because like Elon asked, are we talking about words here? Non-verbal, yeah. Okay, so excellent question. Really, when you're saying the Shema Yisrael, you should be locked in, focused. You really shouldn't be making gestures either. We're going to talk about this, but when you're saying the Shema Yisrael, you should not be making gestures, giving it. Sometimes this is where you have to be smart, to your point. Sometimes you have to make a gesture because someone get offended. I'll tell you what my gesture is when I'm saying the Shema Yisrael. It happened a lot the past couple of days. Oh, I'll tell you where it happened a lot. We were praying Arvit at the wedding 2 nights ago. For some reason, the second I started Shema Yisrael, everyone wanted to say hello. So you know what I do? While I'm saying the Shema Yisrael, I hug the person and I just say the Shema Yisrael loudly in their ear. The person says, oh, sorry. Okay? So that what my thing is number one, I just start saying the Shema Yisrael very loud, and the person realizes. Number two, the big smile. And the person sees the smile. So even if you're not talking to them, they see the smile, they see you have a greeting. So you have to, because to your point, like You don't want to disrespect someone by like completely ignoring them. It could give someone a bad feeling. But to actually say the words, what we're going to say is you don't actually do this. We have a lot to do, a lot of halakha to get in. One last thing, I want to speak about the names Avram and Avraham, because I missed it. Halachically, there's no issue because it's not really brought down in Shulchan Aruch. We don't name for the most part, no one names their boys Avram, but or Sarai. But sometimes they do, and it's okay. I actually know someone with the name Sarai. It's okay because we saw tonight that the name Sarai for sure is okay, but even the name Avram, this whole discussion is not recorded in Shulchan Aruch. It's not recorded by the Rambam. It's not recorded. It seems like one of the reasons that's brought down is because certain things that are taught to us before Matan Torah, before Har Sinai, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to apply to us in the future. And so if something was taught beforehand, before Har Sinai, but it wasn't repeated at Har Sinai, wasn't repeated as when the Torah is given, it's not something that takes hold. It seems like this is one of those things. Okay, I just wanted to mention that, but we have two homework assignments, okay? Homework assignment number 1.
Yaakov and Yisrael.
Yeah, someone has to go through, and I know you already started. Someone has to go through, and you could make a chat. You use the chat. Get let's get some homework during the week. A group project.
All of the books,
No, after that point. After that,
like Bnei Yisrael?
I don't know. It's your project. Yeah, you could do it. Whatever you want. If I were doing it, the way I would do it is I would go into Sefaria, search the word Yaakov, and then every time after this pasuk of chapter 35, and then I would search the word Yisrael every time. I would put it, write the context, and write if I had to guess, would I say this is spiritual or physical, and does that line up with what Rabbeinu Bachya says? And if not, you have some questions. Like that's how I would do this project. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So that's homework assignment number 1. Homework assignment number 2, a little bit on me, but I want to see you guys trying. Let's start making a chart. For this chart, it's got to be like a 4-dimensional chart because you have the opinions of Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, in the middle of chapters, between chapters, like in the middle and between, honor, fear, starting a greeting, responding to the greeting. So we have 8 different boxes. Okay, so let's start homework for next week. Start making a chart. I'll make one. Be'ezrat Hashem, hopefully we could exchange notes and see if we got to the same thing. If you have a chart, send it to me. Hopefully I could even use that. You're gonna ask GPT. You already made it, right? Make a 8-dimensional chart of this Mishnah. It's just gonna do it. Okay, good. I have a chat here. Let me see what the chat says. Elon, you said question. Go ahead, question.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I thought like between the Berachot and Shema, you shouldn't speak at all. Like regardless, it's like I have sek when you're speaking in between the bracha.
Absolutely, that's 100%. Between the Berachot of Shema, you should not speak at all. Here, what we're doing is that there are times where there's an exception to that rule. The exception is going to depend on who it is and what the situation calls for. So that's 100%. The whole discussion is based on the presumption that you shouldn't be talking, and here are the exceptions. Yeah, exactly.
Also, what about the case of Yaakov when he saw Yosef, and they said like he didn't greet him because he was saying Shema or something like.
Oh, okay, very good. We could add that. Yeah. That's a midrash. It's a dip. I wouldn't. Whatever that story is, that's not something that we're talking about here. We're talking about halachot of someone saying the Shema Yisrael. What Yaakov did in the times of Yosef, there's a midrash that says he didn't greet him because, but that's a whole different thing. That's not related to this topic.
Okay.
Okay. Good. Azak Baruch, everyone. Have a great week.